Hi guys, this is the Epic Gamer Boy here, and today we're gonna be seeing if a iPad Air 2 can run Project SEKAI in mid 2025. And yes, I say mid 2025 because right now it's like May, almost June, and around and this and May and in late May to June counts as like mid 2025. So without further ado, let's get started. So fun fact, the iPad Air 2 so the iPad Air 2 originally released on came out in 2014 is what I meant to say, sorry, and it ran from iOS 8 all the way to iPadOS 15.8.4, which is the latest version it could run. And so yeah, and so yeah. By the way, I did tested projects. Fun fact, I did tested Project Sakai on like the oldest Apple devices it could run, and Project Sakai on the App Store requires iOS 12 or later, and I've tested it on my iPhone 5S and my iPad Mini 2 when those devices are running iOS 12, and those devices were able to download but not playable. Like whenever, like after you try to like log into the game would just start crashing, and it would just constantly crash whenever you try to like play it. So that's unfortunate. So uh yeah. And and when I yeah, and devices like the iPhone 6s and iPad Air 2, those devices have like 2 gigs of RAM. The iPhone 6s and the iPad Air 2, those devices have 2 gigs of RAM, and those devices were actually still playable with Project Sakai. Now, here another thing I do want to talk about is that Project Sakai has like several versions of it. There's the English version, Japanese version, Chinese version, or the Taiwanese version, which is like the Hong Kong or Taiwan version. But I still call it the Chinese version because it's still Chinese. And there's also the Korean version, but I don't really know much about the Korean version. I did heard of it. It's basically like the English version, but has its own features. So here's the thing: Japanese version of Project Sakai is always like 1 year ahead of the English version of Project Sakai, and the Chinese version of Project Sekai is like synced with the English version, but also has like its own features or something that the English version doesn't have. So that is that. So without further ado or anything, let's get started. So I know we're already like 3 minutes into the recording. So yeah, I'll try to make this video entertaining as possible. So yeah, here we go. Here is Project Sekai testing. I'm pretty sure like right now, I'm pretty sure for devices like an iPhone 6s or an iPad Air 2. I mean if those devices were to run the Japanese version of Project Sakai, I'm pretty sure it would be definitely unplayable. I'm pretty sure it would be unplayable. Okay, and as you can see, we already got some lags in the menu, so I might get a lot of stuff, but we're just gonna get straight into the gameplay. No like messing about with crystals or anything, cause I mean, here's the thing. Even if I want to grind for crystals, oh my god, did it just crash? Oh my gosh. No way. No way, it just crashed. Bro. Well, that's kind of unfortunate. But I do want to say that back in 2023 when I was testing Project Sakai on like the 8 devices with 2 gigs of RAM, like, and what I mean by that are like the iPad Air 2, even though that has the AAX chip, and the iPad Mini 4 with the AA chip but 2 gigs of RAM in it. Like, those devices were able to those devices back then were still pretty playable with Project SEKAI back in 2023 on the EN version, but pretty laggy. But pretty laggy. And then now I do notice the game is starting to become more unplayable, unlike these devices, unlike these older devices. So that's great. So yeah. So like I said before, that Project SEKAI was like was still playable on like an iPhone 6s and an iPad Air 2 are like the oldest devices that can actually run Project SEKAI, but it just lags so much to the point that it is like unplayable. It is unplayable. And then I'm also hearing like sound glitches as well. Which has happened before. I mean, I do know it just crashed again. Wow. I do know for a fact that the iPad 6th gen on iPad OS 17 was pretty slow, but I think Project SEKAI was still kind of playable on that, but then it starts to become unplayable. Like after iPad OS 17, like I've like last year when I went to China and I used that thing to play Project SEKAI, it was extremely pain. So, fun fact. If you, I feel like the best iPad to play Project SEKAI, and I would actually recommend to play the iPad for Project SEKAI are like iPad 8 and newer, iPad Air 3 and newer, and iPad Mini 5 and newer, or the iPad Pro, 2018 and newer. I think, yeah, I think those are like the best iPads to play Project SEKAI and have the best performance. I mean, I know the older the devices, the more lag it will get, to the point that it can't handle like music videos and stuff. But wait, if the English version of Project SEKAI is like crashing, okay, I definitely know for a fact now the JP version of Project SEKAI on the iPhone 6s and the iPad Air 2 are like definitely unplayable. And why are they unplayable? Because if the English version like can't handle those to the point that it will like instantly crash, then the JP version would also. And look at that, it just crashed again because this device is like 11 years old. I mean, wait, but would Project SEKAI run on like an Android device that's like over 11 years old? Actually, probably not. As it would also lag and not playable. So that is that. So this is a conclusion of what happens if you try to play Project SEKAI on an iPad Air 2 in mid 2025. As you can see from like me trying to load up the game would just keep crashing over and over again. Because this iPad really can't handle it. Really can't handle Project SEKAI. So I guess I can just give it a few more go while I talk about some more details of this. So So yeah, like I said, if you want, I think most people usually, I feel like most people nowadays who uses iPads are just using like modern day like either Face ID or like an iPad 10 skin or Air 4 newer looking iPad. And for well, my recommendation is that I'd recommend. So I would say if you want to get an iPad for Project SEKAI because you're so addicted to it like I am, I'd recommend getting like like an iPad 8th Gen or newer, iPad Air 3 or newer, iPad Mini 5 or newer, or an iPad Pro 2018 or newer. I mean the iPad Pro 2015, 2016, 9.7, and 2017 models, those iPads are still pretty fast. Are still pretty fast, but I'd still recommend a iPad. But I'd still recommend an iPad Pro 2018 or newer for like the Pro models for Project SEKAI, since those have the best. So since those maybe have the best performance and stuff. So yeah, this is my conclusion of what happens if you try to play Project SEKAI on a iPad Air 2 in 2025. So I decided to make a video of this because this iPad was actually able to run Project SEKAI before. It was like back in 2023. I've tried to play Project SEKAI on this, and it was actually still playable back then. But now it is completely unplayable because throughout the updates that this thing had. I mean, yeah. So even though it's already been like almost 12 minutes long, so I guess, yeah, this video is gonna have to like end it here. So anyways, guys, this is gonna be it for this video. If you did, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe for more content like this, and else. Did I just open up Apple Music? 1 second. Alright, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe for more content like this, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.